Howdy, howdy, howdy. It's your Rodfather 916. This is something near and dear to my heart, maybe because I come from a fairly large family, dysfunctional family, and I've worked with male children for many years. One of my sons had challenges in school, so I got involved. And well after he left the school, I stayed involved in different organizations. When I was a child, before 8 tracks, before cassettes, before microwave ovens, the black community was filled with intact houses, meaning there was a mother and a father in the house. There is black men early on, and I've said this in many videos, so you're hearing it again. When I was coming up, black men would say to other black men, go to school, get an education, and lift up the race. And I think that was a conversation, or someone had decided early on that there was power in education. And so black men, when they were able to attend college, were going to college, being very educated. If you take a second, if you have a time, you don't have to do this right now. Maybe write this down. But look at some YouTube about the black struggle, civil rights struggle in the 40s and 50s. And black men were being educated in higher institutions of learning. And with that education, we became more powerful as a group of people. Somewhere in the 50s, and there's more information, and forgive me, I should do more research before I've done this video, but somewhere in the 50s, someone said we need to cut off the head of the black family, meaning the male. Now, it was already difficult for us to get jobs because we could be fired simply because just by being black. This is well before the civil rights and all the laws that went into effect in the 60s. So you could be fired for being black. But men were the primary breadwinners. And you did have times, and this will be another video completely, where some black women stayed at home and tended to the family and tended to the care of the children and the household. And someone in government says we need to cut off the head. I know I'm repeating myself. So if hard times fell upon a black family, and white families, but this mostly affected black families, they said we can put you in housing or we can give you welfare, but the man can't go with you. So in my lifetime, you saw neighborhoods where the majority of the households, vast majorities of the household, there were husbands and wives. You saw single women. And this removed the man out of the household. And it has created chaos, in my opinion, in the black community. Because they removed the head from the household. Now, some of the things I'm going to say to certain people is going to sound insulting, and that it's not my intent. My father died when I was 6, and I was raised by a single woman. I had the advantages while I didn't have close ties with my family, men in my family. God, for whatever reason, put strong men in my life who said, "You need to do this. Boy, don't do that." And I had the wisdom to listen to them. I had the wisdom to listen to them. And there's a lot of anger and resentment in the black community between men and women. I'm in my 60s. I was born in 1956. You've had now 2 or 3 generations without men being in households, men being raised by women, and men being absent. This is what I've seen. And again, this is not to point fingers at anybody, but this is what I've seen. Women and men, or men and women, having children too early, before they're fully developed, the male fully developed, so they produce a child at an early age without benefit of marriage, not knowing what to do, not knowing how to raise a child, because no child comes with a book. You can get all the books you want, and that child goes, "Yeah, okay, that's nice that you read the book. What does that got to do with me?" You know. Um, so there isn't blueprint. Everybody's sort of doing it hands on, hands on, hands on. The young man who's had sex now wants more sex, wants to date other women, wants to see other women. The woman wants an intact household. She wants a father to father her children, be the male head of the children, male head of the family. The problem with that is that in a lot of cases, a man is not taught how to be a man because he didn't have a man in his life. So as the baby grows older, the young man becomes less attached, and the woman is a little more resentful because her husband's not there. She's all of a sudden the mother and the father. So she's angry and she attacks the child's father. The child, man or woman, boy or girl, should I say, is now resentful because she's sharing her anger, or they see her anger with the father who's not in their lives, and now they're angry with the father. And because of the age of the father and the maturity of the father, in a lot of cases, not every, that they have decided that for me to go to see my kids in a toxic environment, I'd rather not be there. Meanwhile, mom is saying, "You're dating other women. I resent that because you're giving another woman what I should have," is resentful. And you can't bring your kids over to the house where there's another woman. This is what the kids learn. This is their makeup. So by the time the male child is 16, the female child is 16, if there's no father in the house, they're resentful of their dad and other men. And because she doesn't have a male example in her house, she often chooses a man like her father, who's just as irresponsible as he was, just as irresponsible as her father is. And the cycle continues. the man not having a man in his life, and I visit this on a lot of black men because there are certain black men who could speak up, but they don't. In the barbershop, there's certain men in a barbershop where they say the woman's a bitch and this is a bitch and I got a bitch of a woman, but I F this woman over here. We are a part of the problem. There are other social economic. It's not every black man doesn't take care of his kids. But if you live in a community that they don't, that's what you know. But there are many communities, but usually these communities are separated by income. So if this person has a degree and he lives in a neighborhood where there are couples, their kids will see a relationship unlike they'll say in, say, a poor neighborhood. I hope I'm making sense. So not every black man is irresponsible, but there's a disconnect between, as in all neighborhoods, all races, there's a disconnect between incomes, whether you are low income, upper middle income, middle to upper income, and the two rarely mixes. They see each other during holidays, briefly, because as you move up economically, your values change, your friends change, your relationships. You tend to hang out with people who are similar to you, the people you have more things in common. Again, I say this often, it doesn't mean that person who has a college education or has gotten to a different status thinks he's better than his cousins or possibly or siblings. It's just that he has now less in common than his siblings. So you hang out with people who are similar to yourself. The problem in our community right now, and I don't know what the answer is other than you have to get more black men involved, is that black men are being raised by women who are angry, who create angry men, young men. Now, I didn't say that was just her fault because the father, I'm a father and maybe different than a lot of fathers, but my kids mean everything to me. My kids are way grown, but they mean everything to me. And while they have lives of their own, they're married, you know, and their space, you don't see them as often. They're still important to me. I have a son across the pond. I have money in the case he needs me. He probably won't. He's an outstanding young man. He probably won't. But if he does, I'm ready. I have more money saved for him than I have for myself. But just in case he needs me, I can get to him. But I had men in my life that taught me that. But what if you didn't? What? Because the problem in our community, as far as I can see it, is there's not enough black men going and saying, I don't care how much she's screaming at you, I don't care how she's cussing at you, that's your son, you need it, and your daughter, you need to be in their lives. Because that's what I would say and have said. You laid down with her, you created a child with her. You are connected forever. Just because you're mad at her doesn't mean your responsibilities end. If she won't let you see your child, you don't need money to hire a lawyer. You can go down to the county and there are people there who will help you. But be prepared. You made this child. And if there's a child is in a bad situation because mom just can't do it on her own anymore, and you need to take and raise this child as a single man, you need to do that. No ifs, ands, or buts. This conversation is not happening enough. It's not happening enough. So you have a lot of angry men on the streets. Angry at both parents, angry at dad because he's out. His dad wasn't in his life, but he doesn't know. But since he hasn't has guidance, he goes out and has kids and becomes his father. No responsibility. I was in a barber shop in a town one day, and this man, or should I say this man boy, 22, 6 kids, bragging about it. Yeah, ain't no money coming up here. She be talking all that. And none of the men who were there, nobody corrected him. And I was mad at myself for staying silent, so I went to the bathroom and I kind of regrouped. I lost my place in line to get my hair cut too. But because I was trying to think, I know if I say something, I'm not going to be popular. But if I did nothing, then I'm perpetuating what's going on. So he was talking, I sat down and I said, listen, if you're not in your kid, I don't know about you, was your father in your life? And he looked at me, he didn't want to answer, like, you get out of my business. I said, if any man who didn't have a father in his life and creates a child isn't a man. Because if you know and if you've experienced the pain of not having a man in your life, then why would you do that to your child? Why would you have a child? Well, OG, I don't mean no disrespect, but you don't pay for my bills. I said, well, you don't pay for your kids, and I don't even know you. So one of the barbers, he stopped, and because at this point I wasn't sure if my life was in danger or not, but one of the guys stopped, and he said, well, he got a point there. He said, because I had an old man. He said, I show up in this job. And he said, he walked by like I was a complete stranger. He said, I was fucked up by that for a whole long time. And he said, I got 2 boys. I make sure they got food before I eat. I make sure they dress before I eat. And it started a dialogue. I can't tell you the feeling I have. I feel like I'm going to tear up. But this conversation needs to continue. He said his daddy didn't even acknowledge him, but he made the change. We need to be having conversation with each other. Men need to be having a conversation with each other. Meanwhile, women, you need to find a man in your family, and you need to stop trash. Instead of being angry at your husband and sharing that with the kids, you need to share that with a girlfriend. Because you're creating the other anger on this end. I have a video, my most popular video here, and it was based when my brother was dying a few years ago, and it was saying most single men die alone. And we're talking about probably 1,500 comments by now. I can't keep up with them. 20, I think it's up to 27,000 people have read it, and other people have shared it on the videos on their feeds. And most of the respondents are anger. Like, my father died. He should die alone because he disrespected my mama. He disrespected us. That may be true. But if you hadn't said nothing about it, their relationship may be different. You play a part in this. Yes, you had him young. Yes, you mad at him, but you shouldn't put that on your kids because you are so angry with your husband, so angry with your husband that you can't see the damage you're doing to your kids. Someone said, and I don't know if it was Judge Judy or somebody said, you have to love your children more than you hate your husband, the man you had a child with or children with. Because if you knew if he was a piece of shit the first time you had a child, why did you lay down and have another child with him or somebody like him? The person you should be mad at is you. But your anger, you say in front of your children, everything, your dad is a piece of shit, he's a low down piece of shit. Well, guess what relationship they're going to have with their father when the person who is most influential, the voice that they know more than anybody, their mamas have said, he is no good. How does that work? Maybe he's no good, but you chose him. And you chose him again. And you chose somebody like him. Meanwhile, your tongue is turning them kids away from them. Yes, you're hurt because he's moved on. You made a mistake. But don't visit your mistake onto your kids. Some women got that, but not enough. Mothers, because their fathers are gone, decide they're going to be the mother and the father. You can't be the father. You will always just be the mother. You can be mad at me for that. Same thing with a man. You cannot be your child's mother. You will only be the father. There are certain things, certain tools you don't have. There's certain tools he doesn't have. What what mothers do out of love, in a lot of cases, too many cases, they cripple their sons. Instead of letting him fall and figuring out how to get up, she's helping him up financially, emotionally. You don't have to believe me. Go to a traffic court in your community in the morning, and you will see mothers in their 60s speaking for their 30 and 40-year-old sons. And a lot of mothers will pay more attention to their sons than they do their daughters. But by speaking for him, paying his bills, not letting him figure out, you are not helping him be a man, you are crippling him. Because he doesn't know how to be a man because his mother was the man for him. Let him figure it out. Keep money in your pocket. There are too many men depending on women who can't and who women can't depend on them because of their mothers and grandmothers, aunties, some women paying their bills, paying their fines, making their car payments. They don't have to focus on making their car payments. They can get their car payments. They can get their car payments, their mortgage payments, their rent, their bills paid, and the only thing they have to do is listen to you fuss. They know you're gonna fuss. As I do this video, some woman is losing her house because of her grown son. He didn't respond to his bail. See, a man wouldn't do that. Man said, let him stay in jail. Man wouldn't speak to him and go, man would encourage him to speak up for himself if he went to the courthouse with them. Dad would say, you on your own. You made that baby. I'm not paying your child support. You better get you another job. I see you standing out here getting your car fixed. You better get another job. But woman not going to do that. And not happening. Not happening. Best thing my mother ever did. I don't know who got in her ear or she just had common sense, but I was a baby. And yes, I played my mom when I moved away to college. I spent all my money. And then I knew if I cried to her, she would get me money and I'd have money in my account by Wednesday. She'd send me a money order. But somewhere in my very freshman year to school, I would always call her collect on Sundays. I didn't have a phone back in the day. So I'd go to this mini mart and call her collect. And she would every day, she would every time, every Sunday, every other Sunday when I needed money, she would say, "How come you got a job and you get Social Security? How come you're not saving your money?" Because the bill's higher than I thought, Mama. No, I spent my money deliberately. I knew I could get it from her just by going, I don't know what I'm going to do. They going to put me out. One day my mother didn't accept the collect call. I was holding up the line for all the other men behind me calling their parents. You know, like, this is wrong. She always accepts my calls. She'd do that. She'd do that. And guess what? After calling her all kind of bitches and motherfuckers, I figured out how to hold my money and make it last. Bought me 6 packs of cheese, macaroni and cheese for $1. Kept me some margarine so I could make that macaroni and cheese and some milk. And some days that's all I ate every day. Today, shoot me in the head. But she taught me to stand up. But in many households, and not just black households, but mom does it. Mom and men, if they're men tend to spoil their daughters if there's no mom involved, because mama goes, she's not. Don't buy her that dress. She's lying to you. See, these are skills that mom has that he doesn't have. Dad doesn't have. Doesn't mean because there are single fathers out there doing the best they can, but they could never be mom. So what you want to do is you want to get your mother or your aunt or a strong woman to help you navigate with her because just as women cripple their sons, fathers cripple their daughters, active fathers that are in their lives. He just won't pay the bill. All right, daughter, I'm gonna send you $2,000. You better make this last. All right, Daddy, I love you. And there are men losing everything they own because their daughters are my age. But it has to stop. Men, single men, whose wives or women they've chosen have substance abuse or alcoholism. It affects both sexes. Don't trash your mother. Don't trash their mothers in front of them. Find a friend if you're gonna do that. Get on the phone where they can't hear them. You have cell phones now. Get in your car and say this such and such, but not in front of your kids because that's half of who they are. Don't damage that half. So there are couples in the black community, other communities too, but right now it happens more in the black community. And this was by design. Understand that. This was by design. Your federal government, someone said, we're going to cut the head off the family, but we can fix that. It's going to take a generation or two. and reestablish the head. Women, you are heads of family, but it took two of you to make it. You need a strong male presence, not necessarily some man you met off the street who you'll probably end up leaving, but you may have an uncle somewhere or a grandfather somewhere. That person should be play a role in your life because that man could give you wisdom that you don't have. Yes, you made a choice, a bad choice, but don't visit your anger on your children because if you read Older Men Die Young, majority of these are men and women who are just angry with their fathers. Angry. They deserve to die because they disrespected my mama. Well, how did they learn that from? Where did they get the information from? In many cases, what she said. A lot of you won't agree with me here, and that's okay. If I can make you think or consider, get past the anger of the man or woman you chose. If you didn't have both parents in your life, it's time to bring that child up. Remember how that child felt when they would see their father and their father would just wave and keep going. Remember that heartbreak. Remember the times where you had relatives, aunts, uncle, cousins. Yeah, that such and such ain't no good, and how you felt at that time. And if there's any pain, and I speak to men and women, if there's any pain in that memories, why are you doing it to your children? If you know what that pain is, why would you do that to your own flesh and blood? People don't understand. Don't understand. Won't understand. Because they are so angry at their mate, they don't have the love and respect for their children, because that's respect. Your kids deserve respect as well. A lot of you are going to be mad at me. You can email me. You can leave a comment. You can email me at therodfather916 at hotmail.com, or you can cuss me out online. Just be respectful. Disagree with me online. But if you know that pain, if you've been that little girl, that little boy, why would you do that to your little boy or little girl? Is it a lot? It is. If you can't get past the pain, get some help. Because everything you do up until that child's about 14 or 15 is a recorder. Your tongue, because it's hurt, is preparing and teaching your child how to respond and how to act in their relationship, how to make the exact same mistakes. Because unless there's an understanding, you will repeat the same mistakes. That's why we have this generational, somebody called it the generational curse. I've said it, I don't like it. Because it means we've accepted it. I'm trying to do better as a single old man to speak up. So far I haven't got my ass beat, but it could happen. I haven't decided if it's worth it, but somebody's got to do something in our communities. This is a Rod Father wishing everybody love, joy, peace, and happiness. Thanks for watching.